So, life throws at us many curveballs. And when we're in a baseball game, it's all about hitting those curveballs, right? Smacking one of those right out of the park. Well, when we're talking about the analogy, though, of the curveballs that life throws us, what is the equivalent to hitting that ball out of the park? It lies in your response to those curveballs. That's what it is, to get a hold of that ball and to send it over the fence. And that's the name of the game, right? Because life throws at us, whether it's a curveball or a knuckleball or a slider, it throws all kinds of things our way. And we can either swing strikes, receive a few balls here and there, hit fouls, or we can send it out of the park. And that's what should be our goal, to send them out of the park. And how do we do that? It's by how we respond to these things. And it starts up here. Because curveballs, they happen to be negative in nature. And if we respond to it with negativity, well, then it's just going to be all negative. But when that negativity comes our way and we respond to it with positivity, what happens? Well, we balance out and level the playing field. And as we stack those wins up, I think that things might actually begin to change. In the future may end up looking more optimistic. And I think that there's a very good chance in this life, the reality that we're experiencing, we are building it with our own emotions and actions and the way that we respond to the things that happen in life. But it's very difficult to be in that headspace when you're constantly throwing these curveballs and we're constantly responding to them with negativity. Because like I said, negativity is going to be what's out in front of us then, if that's the only place we exist in. It's real easy for us to be always, boo hoo hoo, look at me. We shouldn't be that way. That's victim mentality, and that will get you nowhere. None. You'll just continue going through life boo hooing when you could be you hooing, right? So what do we do about this? How do we get a hold of these curveballs and send them out of the park? Well, I wrote down a few things here this morning that came to mind as I was, thinking about this. And big mindset shifts like this, they don't happen by thinking harder. They happen by taking small, repeatable steps in the same direction, okay? And that's what it's all about. And so, number one, we need to catch and rename the thought. That's where it starts, right? When that happens, we need to recognize it for what it is. It's a trigger. And that trigger needs to set in motion something that is positive in response, okay? When we do this, the negative thought shows up and we don't fight it, okay? But instead of that, we label it. And so that might look like that's fear talking, or that's an old story. That's not part of my new one. And naming it creates distance and puts you back in control. 2, gratitude. No matter how small, we need to look at everything as an opportunity for learning a lesson. Like I've said in other videos, amongst all the negativity, there is always something positive to latch onto, even if it is only learning a lesson. And that is a positive thought. And so if you are responding like that, it can change everything. Because if we're only responding to negativity with negativeness, that equals more negativity. And so gratitude rewires the brain, okay? And as we do this over and over and over again, like I said, small, repeatable actions that we can take, this is how we change it for the long run. And this is all about inner language, right? This is how we're thinking and how we're responding. So we need to learn this new language of positivity because it's, for a lot of people, something that's completely foreign, me included. I was probably the most pessimistic person that you could ever come across because a lot of things have happened. I've been thrown a lot of different curveballs in this life, and I swung and missed at every one of them. And it took me 46 years to realize this. So hopefully I can save you some time. So it's all about that. It's all about changing that inner language. And that's number three, because that's how our thoughts are. And that's how we speak. And if we speak positive things, well, then that is speaking positivity into existence rather than negativity. If all you talk is negative, most likely that's what you're going to experience. So we need to be speaking this new language of positivity. That's what it's all about. And even if you're having a hard time, like believing it yet, right? Because I mean, you could still swing and miss. And so what happens? Oh, you start to come down on yourself. Oh, life, boo hoo hoo. No, it's got to be you who instead for now on. Just you who's. Okay. So, number 4, win the first 10 minutes of your day. And this is crucial because by getting off on the right foot starts the motion in that direction. If we're getting off on the wrong foot, you know the old saying, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Most likely your whole day was a representation of that one action that started it, right? And so if we can start our day with positivity, it can change the direction of our day. And instead, we can wake up on the right side. And our day can be a reflection of that instead, right? And so for me, it comes down to creating new habits. And so what I've personally started to do is instead of, immediately going to the phone like so many of us do, instead go to your journal, write down your thoughts, write down what you plan to do today, write down where you are at mentally so that you can keep track of these things. Because as you grow in this and you start to see the change, it's only going to motivate you to keep going. And so this is important. So we need to turn off the phones, turn off the news, turn off the social media. For the first 10 minutes of your day, you can do without it. Focus on you and focus on this positive mindset. And I mean, if the journaling thing is not for you, there's other things you can do. Just sit in quiet, sit in peace, meditate on the positivity in these things. You don't have to write them down. I would encourage you to do it because then you're keeping track of it and you can look back on it and that will benefit you later. But even just sitting in silence and just having these positive thoughts, you know, going through your mind, it can dictate what the rest of your day looks like. And so number 6 is limiting negativity inputs. And this is critical because that's where I think a lot of us in our human nature, we're just wired this way. This is how we respond by default in a negative manner. But we need to change this. We need to take system out of autopilot, take manual control of it and say, nope, not today. I am not letting those negative thoughts in. And as we do this, our mind is going to become stronger and there's going to be a force field almost that's around it that's not going to allow those things to penetrate it and they won't get in. And instead, it will only be positive things that are going on in here. And what comes out of it will be positive. And I do think that that will create the reality that's out in front of you. And it will also be positive. And this is how we begin to change all of this right up here. And so, a lot of people, they'll start off their day with doom scrolling. Do you think that's getting you off on the proper foot when we are just surrounded by negativity constantly with these devices? I mean, we are bombarded with it on a daily basis. we should definitely not be starting our day off with that, because I do think it will dictate the direction of that day when we start in here with negative thoughts and negative inputs. Well, then what ends up happening is the outputs are negative, obviously. And so we really need to control that because it's toxic, and that's very much the environment many people find themselves in today. And if we can't fix this, nothing's going to change. I'm telling you, this has to be where it begins. And so you don't have to ignore reality, just control how much you consume of it. Okay? And like I said, even in the midst of all the negativity, there is always positive things to latch on to. And as you do that and you package those things up in a positive framework and file them in the back of your mind, then these wins begin to stack up and you become stronger and more equipped dealing with these things moving forward. And you will grow and you will develop in a positive way. It's the only outcome, because negativity with negativity equals negativity. But positivity with positivity multiplies positivity. Okay. And number 7, rewrite one painful story. Take one past hardship and ask, what did this give you? How did it strengthen me? This flips you from that victim mentality to a forged mentality. Okay. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I meant. We need to be able to see the positive in everything, even if it's just a learning lesson. That is positive. That is positive. But a lot of times there's many more things to grab a hold of. We just need to clear that negativity out of our minds so that we can see the positive things for what they are. 8, do one hard thing on purpose. Whether it's a cold shower or a tough workout or an uncomfortable conversation. When we force ourselves into these hard experiences, well, the way life works is we don't take off weight. We stack weight so that we can grow in strength, right? That's how we are. That's how we are, wired as men and even as women, you know? And so these type of things are, right now it's freezing outside. If you're someone that hates the cold, go out in it. Spend some time there, right? Even a cold shower. We all love nice hot showers, but not many love cold showers. Turn that water to cold and just stay there in it for as long as you can. This is going to build resilience, endurance, strength, inner strength. And then what ends up happening ultimately is your brain starts to realize, oh, I can handle these things and I can do more. And so you can even stay there longer and longer and longer. And then, like I said, you just become stronger mentally and physically. If you allow that to transition into, hard workouts and these other things that you will benefit from by doing, right? 9, talk to yourself like someone you love. That's a very hard thing for a lot of people, me included. Because for most people, your biggest critic is you. And I understand that. And that's okay because, we don't want to stay in a place of comfort because that doesn't build strength, right? We need to keep adding reps or adding weight. And so we need to be uncomfortable for that to happen. But we do have to occasionally give ourselves some grace and love. And we need to speak those things to ourselves. Because if we can't have a positive view on ourselves, well, then the outcome of all this is never going to be positive for you. You first have to believe in yourself. And I can assure you, as you do these things, you are going to grow in self-belief. And that's what it's all about. And 10, end the day with proof of progress. And again, the best way to do this is with journaling. Grab it in the morning for a few minutes and grab it at the end of the day for a few minutes. And you will see over time, if you are doing these things, progression in a positive direction, and your life, I do believe, will begin to reflect that. And so that's what it's all about. And even if you just write down one thing that you did right that day, because you got to start somewhere, right? That's a good place to start, because progress creates hope, and hope fuels optimism. And so these are 10 things that you can do to change your mindset when life is constantly throwing these curveballs. And instead of striking out all the time, you can start to send them out of the park. Just try and look at your life, where you're at now. Are you happy with where you are at? Are you fulfilled with where you are at? Do you think that you are walking in your purpose for being here? Because I think we're all faced with that question eventually, right? What is the purpose of all this? And it should just end up being something that's natural to you. I like to think of it as the 3 P's: passion, purpose, peace. And so what that means is, whatever you are passionate about, most likely that is your purpose. And you need to find a way to stay in that lane right there, and to let that be where you live and where you make your money, wherever your passion is. And if you are living in that place of passion and you're walking in your purpose, well, then that will equal peace in your life. And so that to me is what it's all about. I'm tired of walking in the negativity, but I know that I'm the only one in control of that. The only way I can change that is by changing my outlook on these things. And so we really need to understand the power of our mindset, because the only one that can change that is you. And so we need to get a hold of that. And to me, it's just about looking at the future and saying, if I continue in this direction, if I continue with where I am at right now, and I continue walking out my days right here in this very lane, am I going to be fulfilled, feeling like I am in my purpose, which is the thing I am passionate about, and ultimately in peace with where my life is? And if the answer is no to that, you shouldn't need anything else, because the fact is, you only get one chance at this thing. We all only get one chance at life. And so if the answer is no, and I don't like what that path looks like, well, the only one that can change that is you. And that starts here. And it should be the only thing that it takes to change it up here. Because to me, the scariest thought is to continue on that path, and at the end of it, what awaits is a deathbed. And that's the case for us all, unfortunately. But it's not that that's the scary thought, at least for me. The scary thought is to be laying in it full of regret about the path that I just took and the direction that I had come from. Because I think when you are laying in that place, you're going to realize that you were in control of it all along, and that you could have changed it at any point, but you did not. We can strive for what it is that we truly want and what it is that we're passionate for, and we can at some point veer off this path onto that one. And I think by doing that, at the end of that path, that same deathbed awaits, but the fear of regret is no longer there. And to me, that's the name of the game. So if this video has helped you in any way, please like it. And if you found it to be of any value, please share it. And I would love to hear from you. Please comment your thoughts on this. And if you have done this yourself, I'd love to hear your story. Or if you're struggling to find the motivation, talk to me. I will promise I will try and respond to every single comment on any of these videos. I will do my best. I give my word. I will do my best to respond to every comment on every video. So please comment. Get into the discussion here. And lastly, if this content is up your alley, if you are somebody who's trying to change the way you view life and change the direction in which your life is headed, I do think that you're in the right place. So please subscribe, because I am also on that journey and we can do it together. I'm Brad Casper. This is Casper's Corner. We're out.